Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next installment to the Direct Selling Executives Forum Women in Leadership Series. Today's an exciting day. We have Tracy Rodgers here on the line joining us today. And I want to give you a little bit of a background on Tracy. I love her story because it actually reminds me of people in my life that got me into network marketing years ago. I came into network marketing through my own sister's success as a distributor, and Tracy, who's running her own company today, started as a distributor in the space. So had success over the last 3 years, moved to the highest rank in her own company, did over $500 million in sales through the group, and is now today started her own direct selling company. And when we were going through topics inside of the DSEF and talking about the question of what it takes to win in today's space and what it looks like, I said, man, what about someone who's just transitioned from the field to running their own direct selling company? What would that be like? I was so grateful that Tracy was open to being here today and being on the panel with us. For those of you that are brand new to the podcast and just checking it out for the very first time, the DSEF is an invite-only forum for direct selling executives only. If you haven't joined us on LinkedIn, you can go to www.linkedin.com and type in Direct Selling Executive Forum, or go to directsellingexecutiveforum.com. You'll be forwarded to the group. Tracy, thank you so much for being here with us today. We're grateful to have you on.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on. I'm honored that you would ask me.
This is fun. Now, how this works, there's all kinds of questions that get asked inside of our forum and asked inside of the panel leaders. I've passed the questions over to Gail, so it's like Jeopardy. She's our random shuffler here, and she's going to go ahead and give us these questions today. And I love just listening. I learned just as much as I know the 400 some executives that get a chance to listen to the podcast and watch on our live streams on LinkedIn. And so Gail Ansado, who's been our host for the entire Women in Leadership series, thank you so much for being here today, Gail. And I want to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Sir Ben. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
It's so great to have you here on today's episode of the DSEF. And today's episode is actually entitled, What It Takes to Win in 2023. Now, we're into half of the year, and the direct selling industry continues to evolve, presenting opportunities and challenges for all types of businesses. Our first question is, you left a 7-figure income as a top earner to start your own direct selling company. Can I ask why?
Yes, you can, because everybody asks me that. I love this industry. I actually started in 1988 as a single mom and never really made it to the top, just kind of, played with it. I made it to kind of a medium leadership level, never really put my heart and passion into it. But I knew that I loved it. And so about 6 years ago, I started with a company that was just launching. I wanted things to change. And so I worked really hard. I did all the things. I got really good being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I honestly thought I'd be with that company for the rest of my life. I loved it. I loved everything I did. I love my team. And as I was going around to different masterminds, I think I've been to like 24 of Rob Sperry's and some other people, but he was kind of my mentor in the business, and listening to other top leaders about things that they felt was broken in the industry. And as great as this industry is, there were some broken things. And one of the biggest things was, we're considered a 1099, but we're treated as a W-2. And typically when a leader gets to a higher level, we have to put on what's called the golden handcuffs. And so I was hearing this and fast forward. And so, it's been about 1.5 years, but God called me to walk away. And I argued for 3 months going, Lord, are you sure that you realize how much money I'm walking away from? Because $1.6 million a year is a lot of money. And this is what I was led to do. We are a faith-based business. The message I kept getting was, go change it. Go disrupt the industry. Go do something different. And so I wanted to create a company, number one, that was for the field, by the field. And I wanted to create a company that we truly, truly treated people as a 1099. Now, I know there's a couple of companies that are up and coming and they're doing the same thing, and that's so exciting, but I really wanted to give people the freedom to work within that 1099 and not have all the, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. Because the reality is, if I tell somebody that they can't rep another company or they can't, put their products here or do this or do that, obviously they need to be ethical and legal, then I'm treating them like a W-2. That was one of the biggest reasons why I listened and went, okay, so that was a big thing for me. And I also had noticed, and a big thing from other leaders was, they'd get to the top and then all of a sudden things would change and the bonuses would be pulled away and the comp plan would be changed, for the worse. And they would lose a significant amount of their income that they'd worked so hard for. I wanted to have a comp plan that if I did change, we're changing it for the better for the field, that they would actually make more money. So those are two big components, but again, God kind of laid it on my heart. I argued for a couple of months and then I really got quiet and started listening. So that's what prompted me to walk away from that. And we're just really excited here at Audere.
Yeah, it's such an important reminder, Tracy, to anyone who's watching to understand that, hey, this person's an independent contractor. Many times you talk about faith, I like to compare it to a volunteer army, and you think of like volunteers at a church or something, right? There's only certain things you can do to lead them in their world, and then they got to show up and do the rest. And so many times we have to remember this is a volunteer army. That's such a powerful reminder. When we expect anyone to be something they're not, we're likely to get frustrated, right? Whether it's a parent with your children or whether you're an executive leading your team, then a lot of your frustrations at times come from expecting something to be something it's not. And when we get back to, okay, this is what it is, or where can we fill it in? There's something good there. That's awesome. That's great.
Thank you for that very insightful answer, Tracy. The second question is, what traps would you invite your peers to avoid in the current marketplace?
There's a lot, but if I was just going to say a few, I think the first one, and it sounds so simple, but I think it's overthinking it. It's a big trap to overthink things. And sometimes we make something so simple so hard. I say the first trap is stop overthinking it. If you're looking at, a company, or you're looking at, what you want to do within the company, really look at why you want to do it and what your goals are. Like, what do you want to accomplish financially with your time freedom? What do you want out of this for you and your family and for others? But we tend to overthink things. And it sounds so simple, but it's a big trap. The other thing I think is, do your homework, do your homework. I love what Rob Suri says about, you've got to believe in the network, marketing industry, believe in your company, believe in yourself, believe in the products. So those four things go together. Do you believe in this industry? Okay, go to the next one. Do you believe in this company? Go to the next one. Do you believe in the products? Do you believe in yourself? And I think a big trap is we get caught up sometimes. I know I have in the past, over since 1988, with the shiny, blingy ball. Know why you're going in the industry, what you want out of it, and don't overthink it. I know it sounds so simple, but I myself have talked myself right out of promotions, opportunities, earning incentives, because I'm overthinking all the, well, what if this or what if that? The other thing I want to say too is, and I don't know if this is part of the answer that you're looking for, but, and I'm going to speak with my company. My last company was a startup company. But here's a trap that people fall into. And I love, like I said, I love me some startup companies, but a big trap is expecting the same things out of a startup company that you would out of a company that's been around for 50 years, like Tupperware or Mary Kay or Shackley or any of these. Startup companies are great, but they're not for everybody. And I think a big trap for people is only seeing that, wow, I'm going to get into this at the beginning. My ID number is 14, 15, 18. I'm going to, but the trap is you've got to work it just like you would any other company. You have to put the time and consistent effort into that as you would if you're joining a company that was 40 years old. But also you're at the beginning, you're at the startup, and you're growing with that company. And there's a lot of great benefits to it. It's not for everybody, but I know myself with my last one, the first year and a half was really hard. And there was a lot of bumps in the road and back orders and out of stock and things. We focus on what we have in that company, whatever company you're with. So focus on what you've got. Don't focus on what you don't have yet. And if you love what you've got so far, and you love the corporate, and you love the product, and you love the community, focus on that, and don't get into the trap of, I'll do it when we have this, I'll do it when we have that. You might as well go join a company that's 20 years old. There's a lot of great benefits to joining a startup, but don't fall into the trap of comparing it to a company that's been around for 20 or 30 years. Does that make sense?
Totally. It's so much to be said about focus on how to win with what you got. The corporate team's
got to win with what you got.
Yeah. And that's such a great message for the field, because the corporate team's got a vision. Many of you on this line, some of you overshare. I've heard that complaint in the field sometimes. You got some project you're working on as a corporate team. It's going to be ready in 6 months. but you get so excited that you want some good news to the field. And you say, hey, guys, this cool thing's coming up. And you rob yourself of the victory because you share it too early. What Tracy's talking about is a big note we can all learn from as direct selling executives, gang, is as you're working on your initiatives of what's coming out in the next 90 days, or a promotion that's coming out in 120 days, or a contest that's going to start in 6 months. You don't have to tell anybody about it yet. You'll tell them about it when the time's right to tell people about it. You can practice a little patience and hush, and you can have good things in store for the future. I like to bring the example back to parenting. I think this is a great way to think about it. Like, there's all kinds of things you want to do for your children. You don't tell them about them when they're 7 years old or 8 years old at times, right? You wait till they're 16 or they're 18, and you bring it to them at the right time in their life to be able to be a blessing. Same thing with your field when you're building a referral marketing company. Hear what Tracy's saying is sometimes it's our own fault as leaders when we talk too much future casting, that we're bringing their head into the clouds of what's not here, and now they're complaining why that's not already here yet. It's better to have your field focused on exactly what's in front of them right now, where they can win.
I love
really
that. Ben, I want to say, so
Yeah.
I was invited to a conference in March as a friend, just a guest. And because I knew the VP and I admired and adored some of the top leaders, I went. I was excited to go. And I'll never forget a story. The gal was on stage, and they had just launched in Canada, like, I don't know, not too long ago, maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago, I don't know. Within less than a year, she had made it to one of their top diamond ranks. And her team was always going, well, how come the US has that and we don't have that in Canada? How come the US has that and we don't have that? Well, they've got that and we don't have that. When Canada has what they have, then I'm going to work this business. And she said, you know what? I'm going to work with what I have. And she made it to the top diamond rank in less than a year because she was focused on what she had to run with. I tell that to my consultants all the time. If we focus on what we have and we run with that, we're gonna get everything we want out of this industry. And so I love that story. I think out of everything I heard at their conference, that just really stuck with me. Like you just said, work with what you have, focus on what you've got.
Thank you for all those insights. So just to recap, stop overthinking it, do your homework, and don't get trapped expecting the same things out of a startup company from a big company.
I mean, there's startup companies every week, and people are attracted to them, but at the same time, and they're great, but at the same time,
because they're exciting. Yeah.
Keep your expectations where they need to be.
Now, the next question is, what has been the biggest surprise to you since you started your own referral marketing company?
Oh, y'all. There are days when I wake up and think, if I knew then what I knew now, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. And there are days where I truly beat my head against the wall and I just almost want to cry myself to sleep, because it's so different than being a top leader and letting the company as the umbrella do all the work. And you're just out there, building your team and selling the product. I got to say that it's a whole different ball game, but I love it. And what I have learned is that the first year, we're June 26th will be 14 months that we launched with retail. The first year, it was pretty frustrating because I'm great at being a top leader in a company, but I'm brand new to being a CEO and an owner, right? And I've got an incredible corporate team that surrounds me. We've got like 6 corporate people. I've got some leaders from the field that work side by side with me. We link arms together. They help decide on new product and programs and all kinds of things. But I would say, the first year was a real learning curve. I had to give myself grace. I was really hard on myself, and I had to give myself a lot of grace to go, after the first year, to look back and say, I'm going to take what didn't work. I'm going to look at what worked, and I'm going to improve on that. So what didn't work, we're just going to throw it out the window, and we're going to revise that. And what did work, we're going to amplify that. So it was a really good year to learn what works and what doesn't work. Even our comp plan, we just revamped and enhanced, and I'm really excited about it. We just launched it this month, but it takes a while because it's a different role. I guess it's kind of like assistant manager at Wells Fargo. And then you go off to become a manager in New York at Chase Bank. You're in the banking world, but it's like a whole different ballgame, or CEO. So it's been a whirlwind. But I can honestly say that I'm a person that, maybe some of you can relate to this, and if you can't, I hope you write this down. We never learn from our successes. I don't know one person that learns from their successes and makes them better. I have learned from my mistakes and I have learned from my failure. John Maxwell has a book called Failing Forward. That's been my direct sales life since 1988. I look at this last year that I failed forward in such an exciting way. And I got to learn and grow, as a CEO and owner. And the one thing I will say is it really builds character when you're out of your comfort zone. I used to tell people that, the only way to get good in this industry is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I quote Rob Sperry a lot, sorry, but he's been my mentor for 5 years. And Rob always says that new levels, new devils. And I would call him up several times crying, going, this is a new level and I'm facing a new devil. But it's really given, it brings out your character and it brings out who you are. And so this is a whole different role for me, but I'm learning, and I'm learning with grace, and I'm learning with excitement. And it's been a whole different ball game, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I can't wait to see where my character and my learning skills and everything is going to be a year from now, 2 years from now.
Tracy, that process you talked about of unpacking you're out there in the marketplace, you see what works, see what doesn't work, let go of what doesn't work, double down on what works. We're big on that rinse and repeat thought. There was actually a report I'll highlight for the DSEF. Gail, we can add it to the show notes. There was a report we published for the DSEF back in January that was about viral trends in referral marketing. And the whole premise of that report is this idea that there's a decision-making framework we need to follow as executives so that we are measuring the right numbers when making decisions, so that we are making the right decision of what to throw away, what to keep inside of our organization. And we've had a lot of response from peers in the space because of that. So that same experience it's what it is for all of us. And so it comes down to the numbers we're actually looking at the end of the day. The next question I see here in the queue that Gail has is exactly about that. So let's go right to it, Gail. This is great that Tracy just highlighted it. So go ahead.
What are the top 2 to 3 data points for decision making you look for when running a company?
Well, I think Ben hit it. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. I mean, it really is. And I know from a CEO founder's standpoint, people can talk all day about what they're going to do, or what they love or what, but at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. And so, daily we're going in and I check the numbers, check the growth, check the attrition, check the, so that's a big part of it. I will be honest with you as far as data, maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but I'm just going to be honest, because you know what, maybe you're out there thinking, I want to start my own company, but I'm not good at Excel sheets and I'm not good at all the data processing. I'm going to be honest with you. I have the most incredible chief strategists on the planet Earth. And so one of the mistakes I made in the beginning was trying to be all the things. So this may not be the answer you want, but somebody's going to relate to this. I quickly learned that I'm not good at numbers. I'm not good at getting data and stuff like that. I'm just being honest. And so one of the mistakes I made was trying to be all the things, and because that's what CEOs do. And so basically what came down to it just in January is I turned all that type of stuff over to our chief strategists, and I do what I'm best at. And so I'm best at motivating our team. I'm best at training. I'm best at connecting. I'm best at growing. And so that was lacking because I was trying to put myself in a box that I didn't fit in because that's just not my personality. And so since kind of handed that off to him, because that's where his brain is. He's a whiteboard guy, he's just amazing. Things are flourishing. Not only is our company flourishing and our leaders and our consultants, but I'm flourishing as well because I'm back doing the things that I'm best at. So as far as data points, I know what I have my hand on the company every day. I know, but he gives me that information. I don't have to go find it. And I'm really blessed that way. So if you're a person out there thinking, I would love to start my own company one day, but I'm not good at numbers and I'm not good at all the things, that's what I think makes a success too. No one person can be successful. So I was blessed enough to find a team, and we took all their strengths and we combined them together, and we're one strong unit. I'm just kind of guess admitting to you guys, I don't do a lot of data stuff, but I do check the numbers every day.
Which numbers do you like to look at when you check each day? Just
sales,
I
like
subscriptions, enrollments.
So sales every day, that puts a pulse on where we're headed for the month, because I look at the week, and then multiply that and see what we would come out for the month, or I'll see where we need help on. So if we're lower in sales, then we might run an incentive, or we might do different things like that. Enrolling, we just did a really incredible thing with enrolling. By looking at it, I can put my finger on, this is what needs to happen. We need more sales, so we're going to run an incentive, or we're going to do this. We need more enrolling, so we're going to do this, so we're going to do that. So by knowing the numbers, I know for a fact where we need to be for the end of the month. If we're low on the 10th, or the first week of the month, then I know for our goal, what we have to do to catch up to that.
Sure.
Or if we're over, then I know that, if we continued on this course for the next, 3 weeks of the month, that this is where we're going to wind up. So it gives me a lot of projections as far as not only what our sales and recruiting is, but the growth of the company. And I think that's really important. So I do know that really, really well. But I just don't do all the,
How very Henry Ford of you, right? To have other great smart people on the team, right? There's famous
I'm really
quote
blessed.
of who do you need? So we'd love to do book recommendations all the time, gang, on the show. For those of you that resonated with how Tracy said it, hey, I got people good at that. Great book, Who Not How. Instead of asking how to do this or how to do that in your business, you can always ask if you have a who. Is there a who on your team that can do that? I can share from my own experience of running Nexum the last 13 years. There were 7 of us here when we first started, and there were 65 of us here today. It is a very different team today than it was 13 years ago. And so you can resonate with Tracy. Some of you who are in these younger startup modes trying to wear every single hat. And I know some of you are watching the show. Others of you are saying, oh, we got past that a decade ago. And some of you are still in that spot. So it's important to stop on that thought for a moment. What Tracy just shared as well on the numbers, gang. Once again, I want to just go back to the report in the show notes. We expand on that thought. You talked about a lot of transactional data points. And today, you have to start with transactional data points, but there is more available to that. And so I'd encourage you to check out the DSEF's most recent report.
I love that you provide that, because here's the reality. There's a lot of people that they need something like that. They don't know where to find it. And so the fact that that's something that you excel in, you can, offer that. What a great tool. And I just want to encourage people. I know I'm going to be looking at it. I think everybody needs to look at what tools they can have to put in their toolbox to better their company and their business. So I know I'm excited to be talking to you about that, because we're living in a different world now with technology and stuff. So you guys go check that out. I know I'll definitely be talking to you as well. I'm excited.
Perfect. We have just one more question for our time today. We're so happy to have you here, Tracy. Gail, let's go ahead and wrap it up with our final one while we still have Tracy. Go ahead.
Thank you for that, Tracy. If you could go back in time about 5 years, knowing all that you know now, what would you tell yourself?
5 years wasn't that long ago. That's kind of when I started with my last company. I think, I'll be honest. I think the first one would be, and maybe somebody is really be smart with your money. I was smart with my money, but I'm just going to say this because it's a big problem, that when a person comes in and starts making 6 and 7 figures a year and they're not used to it, it's really easy to get caught up in, I've got all this money. If I spend it, I'll get $200,000 next month. And I was good with my money because I was able to, create a company and, but I could have been smarter. So the one thing I would tell myself is I would have sooner gotten a financial, advisor and really gotten like super Elon Musk smart with my money, right? I was smart, but I could have been smarter. And I know that's an issue out there in the industry when people aren't used to making 6 and 7 figures a year. It's really easy to go into Louis Vuitton and drop 30 grand like it's $5 because I've done it. So that's the first thing I would say. I've been in direct sales since 1988, and I was floundering. I was just like a fish out of water. Never took it serious, wasn't willing to do what I needed to do to get to that top level. And so 6 years ago, when I did get into my last company, I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to read personal development every day. I started with You Are a Badass to get rid of my baggage. Like I did a lot of things 6 years ago. So I'm really glad that 6 years ago, I started that journey with personal development and all the work. Because if I hadn't, there's no way I'd be sitting here owning a company today. But a lot of people haven't. So I was a little ahead of the game on that. But I would tell people, but I didn't do that for the first 30 years of my direct selling industry. And so I would tell people that buckle down and focus on personal development and network. I'm so glad, Ben, that we have been able to, kind of come together and we're going to get to know each other. Networking is what it's all about, because I may not have a strength, but I know Ben's got a strength. And if we can combine our mass together, then not only does that help him, but it helps me. So personal development and network. And don't be afraid to collaborate with people. Collaboration is the most important, incredible tool that we have, and we don't use it enough. I started that journey 5 years ago, but I know a lot of people aren't. And I'm glad I did, because if I hadn't have, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
Well, Tracy, I'd love the candid honesty of that, because, and thank you for being so vulnerable on the call today, because what's so important, gang, is that, I have heard Tracy's story, what she just shared, as a top earner, not having the certain financial disciplines at that level. You kind of hear about it in sports media, right? With a guy who worked real hard to be in the NFL, played high school football, and he gets to college and gets his sign-on bonus and blows through, $12 million in his first year because he doesn't know how to handle money. Now he's playing for the Bills or whatever that is, right? So we hear these stories in news media and say, oh, wow, look, this guy's working construction after 3 years in the NFL and he couldn't keep the millions of dollars he made. The same thing happens in direct sales. And I love that Tracy's talking about it, because that personal, we can't assume that everyone who's building groups and having success is doing the personal development work to have proper stewardship in their life when they get to the next level, next level, next level. That's that another devil for the next level quote that we talk about at times. Gang, one book that's an asset that I've seen a number of clients put into their training materials. We use it with our own team. At our company as well, is the book Richest Man in Babylon. Talks about simple stewardship and understanding how to make your money work for you without it being, one specific investment over another. It's an old-timey story of ancient times of a man who is a merchant and how he preserves his money. And it's a powerful tool that's a real simple read. Someone can read in just a few hours. That will help your top leaders. And it's one of those things to teach. Teaching financial stewardship and having personal development as a part of your experience of these ambassadors, being able to say, wow, I'm a better person just because I was a part of that community, like regardless of the money I earned and being a part of that team. Wow, the materials and the things they had me read and the person I was able to become because of hanging out with Tracy or hanging out with your company. We want people to be able to say that. You want people to be able to grow as a human being. Well, Tracy, it's such an honor to have you out here today. For those of you that are watching on LinkedIn or on YouTube who haven't yet joined the group and haven't yet posted in questions, go to LinkedIn and join the Direct Selling Executives Forum. It's absolutely free, invite-only community for direct selling executives. And subscribe. If you're watching on Spotify, Anchor FM, or you're here on Apple Podcasts, subscribe so you get the next episode. We have been so blessed to have the roster of speakers we have. It's an incredible lineup, and there's even so many more that are be popping on even right after Tracy's episode, gang, that this is the stuff you want to be filling your mind with. There are some just gems here. Well, Tracy, it was an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us today. We'll look forward to connecting with you soon. Have a blessed day. Bye for now.